Hello Pisces, and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. All right, Pisces, let's go ahead. We're going to turn this thing around here, and tonight we have the energy of the moon card, the lunar card, one of my favorites. Now, it does come with the energy of illusion, of at times maybe a sneaking, lurking feeling of something going on, right? If you could imagine late at night, you're outside, the trees are high, the full moon is out, and the shadows it casts are long. Maybe it's not the full moon. Let's go back. Maybe it's a little smaller. But anyways, the shadows it casts are long. Everything looks distorted in the night. It looks a little more creepy. It looks a little more crawly. And so, when we get this card, you know, it can be something that feels a little bit scary, right? Well, in my estimation, this is all about creativity. This is all about facing, yes, bravely facing the things in our life, in our situations, in our own minds, right? In our own psychic space. Facing those things and making something of it. Integration. Processing. Activation. All right, we've been going on for a minute. Let's see what these tea leaves are going to tell us. Okay. And so I want to tell you thank you right off the bat here. Thank you for deciding to click on this reading. Check us out over here at Ula Tea Leaf Readings. And if you are new to the channel, welcome. Stick around. Let's see what these tea leaves are going to show us. And if you are returning, welcome back, welcome home. You are all family here. All right, let's start out. I usually turn the bowl, but I immediately see these very prominent formations, so I want to look at them. Now, the first thing I saw is it looks like a person sitting, and it looks very much like a mother figure to me because it has the Empress energy as this is a seated person. We have the head, we have the body, and the legs, the lap would be over here. Now, this is kind of in the form of maybe somebody who is enthroned, right? You can see it looks like a large prominent chair. So that's where that Empress energy really comes from, because it is a position of elevation, but it is also very related to the Demeter and Persephone mythology, and that is the mother who's trying to save her daughter from being taken to the underworld, right? And of course, we know this is spring, right? Persephone, and the fall or the autumn. This is more of Demeter, the harvest. And so we have this energy of kind of having to do what you have to do. And that's really what this mythology kind of comes down to, right? There's a compromise made here. Persephone has to go, or she actually ends up really liking being queen of the underworld. But in the initial being pulled down, right, basically, being kidnapped is really how we should describe it, abducted. There's a compromise, right? She goes down for half the year. She goes to the underworld. And when she returns, she brings the sun and the baby birds and all the beautiful little animals and the flowers with her, right? Very in line with Aster or, well, even Ishtar, Venus, and Persephone, of course. So when I see this, I also see we have right here, it looks like a peacock, which is related to Juno, the goddess Juno, who is also a middle goddess, a mother goddess. And so we have this real firm energy of the mother. The mother, the daughter, the evolution of the daughter into the mother. But really, and also we have the deer back here. And really what this feels like is you grew up in a household with a mother or grandmother or older sister, a mother figure of some kind, who was not only, I would say probably pretty involved, but quite magical. Quite magical, very powerful, in fact. Now, maybe not overtly a practitioner. You maybe came from a family where, yes, there was magic. There was, divination and prophecy and maybe mediumship or healing or whatever. And that was all out in the open. But more often than not, we have these kinds of people who are very powerful, very tuned in, very capable of using their energies for all kinds of work, right? But they live in kind of this very closeted world, right? Maybe coming from a community or a background where these things were really like suppressed, right? Or kind of downplayed or minimized or not talked about. Just, we don't talk about that, right? Or, it might have been kind of grouped in as like a being eccentric or, just a little bit different or whatever it was, okay? But I feel like, they know, you have probably you've probably gotten some of these same abilities, because it feels like when I look at this, it's like a mirror, not for me, for you and them. There's very much this feeling of being alike. And people tell you that. People tell you. You look like your mother, you sound like your mother, you laugh like your mother, you have the same kind of energy, sunny, deep, wise, always something, not interesting, something that the feeling of encountering somebody and having something for them, something to say that would be quite moving for them. And your mother or you or your family, the feminine people in your family, just really good at connecting heart to heart. And we also have the heart right here. You can see right there. And also right over here. But I do feel like it's like you don't even know necessarily that you're saying something that is super important that this person needed to hear today, but it happens. And I feel like there is this almost blurring of identity at times, right? You are so much like this person. I think that is something that you absolutely embrace. I don't think this is a thing where it's like, I'm so tired of being compared to my sister, or I'm so tired of, you know, everybody grouping me in with my father or, you know, my mother's family or, you know, whatever it is. I feel like this is something that, well, I mean, there's a sense of pride. That's what it feels like to me. There's a sense of pride, Pisces. Now, let's keep moving. We have the magical mother. You absolutely magical as well. Something that runs in the family. We have, it looks like the name Joe. That's what I'm getting, J-O. Maybe an E here. It could be John, but J-O for sure. And let me see here. Oh, I want to go back. I don't want to forget. Let's go back. Oh, yeah. So now, if we just look at it this way, you can see the face, right? It reminds me of like a jack-o'-lantern, but it also reminds me of the Kool-Aid man. Do you remember that guy? The one that it was like a pitcher of Kool-Aid, right? And he would bust through the wall. And I think he was like, oh, yeah. Do you remember that? Or am I just super old? But I really do. I feel like on the other part of this person, this mother person, there is a sense of maybe sometimes having not enough boundaries. Okay, not enough boundaries. Like not reading the situation and thinking, okay, now is the time for me to not say anything. Now is the time for me to like wait, you know, for my child, my beloved, offspring to come and talk to me about this thing. Not I'm going to pry into their lives and I'm going to confront them about it, or I'm going to bring up the fact that I've been, snooping through their personal stuff or their personal matters or whatever. And I think this is the maybe one really kind of glaring problem that you had within probably as a youth, but even into your adulthood, right? Having somebody you love so much, who you respect, who absolutely you want involved in your life. You want them involved in your kids' lives. You know, a wonderful, wonderful parent. But, and it almost makes it maybe harder to set those boundaries down and say, hey, I'm like 40 years old. You don't need to be checking up on me all the time, right? Or I don't feel like I need to be telling you every aspect of my life. Or you don't need to like know everybody that I know, whatever it is. I feel like that's the one thing that really, and that's not a small thing. That's not a small thing, especially if you are a private person. And I'm talking to a Pisces, so I imagine, yes, you must be quite private about certain things. And so there is that sense of like, I just would like a little bit of privacy and space and respect. And respect, that's really what it comes down to, be respected enough that yes, you love me, yes, you want, we flow into each other, but that doesn't mean that you should always have access, right? They shouldn't always have access. You're your own person. And so I think that's the thing, and that's that energy that I get, just kind of like busting through the wall, like opening the door without knocking, like that. I think if anything you could complain about, that's the thing, And I feel like for you, you've probably taken great care to not emulate the same energy, especially if you have kids that you're close with. I feel like you've made it a priority to promote autonomy and privacy, right? And so Yes, definitely something that, it's important. It's important even as a parent, and especially in the world we live in today, right? People have access to so much information, not just like, the facts or whatever, but just like looking for the ability to see things that, maybe happened years ago. Well, and not only that, we just have generally this instinct now to share so much of ourselves with, the universe, basically. And, I think that we're in a place where, because we're the first group of people, in the modern world, what we consider the modern world right now, the modern era, that has this much access to each other, has the ability to broadcast so much of ourselves. I don't think that we're always so aware of the implications, right? And so I feel like, there's a learning curve, of course, but I also feel like we are collectively trying to figure out, how do we navigate this turn in humanity? And it's a big thing. It doesn't feel like it because we do it day to day. But think about it. 150 years ago, how many people do you think that one person knew? Like their town, their neighborhood, if they traveled, maybe they'd meet people along the way. But ultimately, we did not have as much access, and people didn't have as much access to us. So, yeah, I understand. Like it's a weird thing that we're all trying to figure out. And I feel like this is one of the things, and maybe the way the world is now, this might be something that you find, well, maybe a little bit triggering. And maybe you're somebody who like refrains from social media, or maybe you're on there but you don't share a lot about yourself. You don't put a lot of personal stuff up because of how you grew up. So anyhow, let's see. We also have a Scorpio. I keep seeing the Scorpion and I'm like, okay, what's going on with them? Because we have the Scorpion, and excuse me, I had to take a drink there. We have the Scorpion. We have like a pyramid. It's like they're coming up to the pyramid here. And you can see, here's the body. Here's the tail. We have the pyramid here. Oh, and we have the crone right here. It feels like so we have like a 2-story house. This is the big one right here. You can see. So it feels to me, it feels like you are surrounded by feminine energy. I feel like grandma, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, all surrounding you. A lot of Scorpio in your family, which I feel like it feels like you come from like a matriarchy kind of, or at least like it's like like a patriarchal family possibly, but it's like a facade, which often it is, right? Who runs the family really? But I feel like a lot of strong women, very connected, very connected, but for some reason, I feel like it's like you feel very, the acceptance and the family, the bond, the closeness, it's all there. But there just seems to be this feeling of being the odd one out for some reason. And I don't even think that anybody really makes you feel that way. It's not like you're not, like you're not invited, right? Of course you are, but I don't know what it is. There's something that you've always had, this feeling. And I keep thinking of it as like it's like a piece of sand. I don't know how to explain this, but it's like if you could feel it. It's like a nice smooth surface, but then there's like something stuck in there, like in the pore of the thing, right? And no matter what happens, no matter how good things are or how hard things are or somewhere in between, there's always this sneaky feeling of I don't belong here. They're all closer than I am. I'm here and I'm part of it. But everybody else, they all get each other, but here I am. And I believe that part of that is, I think that they are alike more so than maybe you are outwardly, right? But I feel like it's interesting because I feel like there are other people within your family that maybe they passed before you, they're elders, ancestors, whatever. But I feel like there are a few of them through the line that were kind of in the same position, kind of the odd ones out, or at least they perceived themselves to be that way. But they were so very powerful. And I think that's what it is. I feel like you're just on a different level. There's magic that runs through everybody in the family, I think, but there are certain few of you that are just, you're different, right? And I feel like that's something that you've always felt. You feel it in all parts of your life. And that's been difficult, for sure. But at the same time, I don't think that you hate it. I think that you like the space. But it's hard because you have these people, like I said, or this person especially, who really, when their gaze is fixed upon you, and where is that eye? There's the eye I saw over here, and I was like, oh yeah, there it is. Right. When the gaze, it's right there. When the gaze is fixed upon you, that's when you're kind of like, oh great, right? Oh great. Also, we have, it looks like H-U-E, hue. As in like a color or shade, right? The hue of something. That's how you spell it, right? I think. I don't know. I think so. And so, I know this whole reading has been about this. And I'm like, well, where are we going with it? What does this mean? We have another deer. So I feel like this really, it's just kind of a loop of thinking. I feel like it's a loop of thinking. And it's almost, I keep thinking of like, and here we go, we have a dog right here, you can see. Like running through the forest at night, trying to figure out how to get to the opening, right? Or like a break in the trees and get out into the meadow or, whatever. And so to me, it feels like this is a time where you're really looking for a sense of self again. Like something has happened. Maybe this is part of like a change in life, or a rite of passage, or I don't know, but I feel like there's a sense of like if I could put all of the fragments of my life, all of the things that I identify with, all of the things that I've belonged to or wanted to belong to, all of my failings and, missed opportunities and whatever, all of the stuff. And you put it out and you lay it across the bed, and then you are you're looking through, you're combing through all of your stories and mythologies and wants and hopes, desires, your achievements, and trying to figure out, what do you want to keep? What's most important? Going forward, how are you going to present yourself? But more importantly, and all of that is kind of, we all go through these periods of time, but what's most important, I think, is finding your relationship with yourself, with your identity, how you perceive your own being, These things are, I think a lot of us, that are partaking in the work, the self-work, we think about ourselves, our experiences, our, how we feel, our impressions, our reactions, our, our behavior, all these things. We're thinking about them constantly. It's easy to forget that a lot of people don't think about this stuff very often at all. And that's not to say it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think at times it can be detrimental to be so focused on, right? But I do feel like for you, this is not something new, right? I feel like you go through these cycles of reevaluation. So this is not like some, all of a sudden you're going through like a midlife crisis and you're finally like stopping and thinking about yourself and your life and all that. I think this is something that's ongoing. But I do feel like in this time that this is where it really starts to come together for you. This is going to be that era of really starting to believe in yourself. I know it sounds cheesy, but I feel like for the first time and maybe ever, there's a clarity. There's a clarity for you. There is a sense of shedding of like these old ideas of, it's the pressure of being whatever the people around you envisioned you to be, or what they perceive you as, or what they've told you you are or you aren't, right? And we all have these things. We all have them. And we carry them with us for years and years sometimes. And it takes a lot of work. What people say to us can be very, it can really change the course of your existence if we're not careful, right? So I feel like you're really taking into power, your own power, into your own hands, who you are, what you will be. And this is what fortune really is. in my opinion. This is where it really begins. This is where we kind of unlock the doors, open them up, and let them swing wide open, right? Flying open. Not just one door, not just one set of doors, a whole hallway full of doors just blown open. So, the other thing that we're seeing here we have a bridge. So I feel like we have a person that has an E, a prominent E in their name, or an E sound in their name. And for some reason, it's showing me a seal. I think that probably this is somebody who maybe had or has been going through, I would say maybe cancer, something like this, maybe an autoimmune thing, but it's been 2 cycles of it. And I feel like there's a lot of anxiety around this, questions. But I feel like for you, you're the one that's kind of the solid rock for them. And I'm wondering if this is like a dad or a grandfather, because we have PA, so it looks like paw. It also could be Pam, because we have something down here that looks like it could be an M. But I do feel like you are maybe, you're the one, maybe the only one in the family, especially if we have a lot of Scorpios. Maybe the only one in the family that can kind of keep yourself tempered even when you're upset. You're pretty good at being there. Like if somebody needed somebody to go to the doctor with them, to ask questions, to remember everything the doctor said, you're that person, because you listen. You listen to the details. You maybe even are like somebody who takes notes. Which, by the way, I remember when I was a kid, seeing people just randomly in life, right? Just taking notes, having like a little notebook. And of course, this is before we had cell phones and stuff. But I always thought, wow, they have an important life. How cool. They're like taking notes about stuff. You know, and then I never took notes about anything, right? Now I'm constantly writing. You should see my calendar. I have so many notes about stuff. It's ridiculous. So I fully understand. Now, I also understand it's because you just have, it's not that your life is exciting necessarily. It's just so busy. There's so many things to remember. But yeah, I do. I feel like you are somebody who maybe takes notes. Maybe not in like a little book, but maybe on your phone, right? Or little voice memos. I never got into voice memos. You know, as much as I talk and do these readings and stuff, I hate hearing my own voice. I cannot stand it. So yeah, I do. I feel like this is just there is a, and now I do wonder if maybe this is something that's already come to pass, but it seems like there's like a real push here to recognize how helpful and loving and patient that you are and you have been. And so I don't know if this is maybe somebody who has transitioned and they're coming through, or maybe this is something that just the universe is letting you know. But that kind of really comes through as you being the one that really shows up. Okay. And you don't make everybody upset. right? You're not like throwing yourself on the floor crying, you know, that kind of. Listen, all that's valid too if you're somebody that's very like emotive. But I feel like you kind of save it for the private moments and where it makes sense. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to do our lucky 3 numbers. 82, number 82, 54, 54. All right, one more. 79. And 79. Lastly, we're going to do our self-care affirmation cards. I'll flip through. Stop where it feels right. And it says, sacred knife. Truth is my sacred knife. I cut away anything that is not in alignment with my values. As I sharpen truth, I become my highest ideal. All right. Well, Pisces, I love you. I thank you. If you want to like, subscribe, or leave a comment, I would love to hear from you. Other than that, I just want to say again, I love you. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're washing your hands. And it's just wild out there with all of the different flus and coughs and colds and, you know, tummy troubles. Ugh. Let's just all wash our hands like 50 times a day. I know. I'm just like, I'm so excited. I'm almost 2 weeks with no sickness. And honestly, I'm not a doctor. I'm not licensed for anything. So do not take this as medical advice. Really, you know, what do I know what I'm talking about? But I started taking elderberry a couple weeks ago again. I did last year some, but I don't know, whatever. I was still pretty sick throughout the, but this year I started taking it and I'm in better shape. That's a big thing. I mean, my health is better generally. And I'm not as stressed out. Last year I was moving and well, the business and everything else, but, it has helped, I think. I really think the elderberry, I'm 100% a devotee now because 2 weeks during high flu season with a preschooler and all of our activities that we do together with other kids and, you know, all the parents and siblings. And I mean, we interact with a lot of people throughout the week. And so, I mean, I feel like it's a miracle. Now, knock on wood, right? Knock on wood. I'm going to do it long, 2 hands. Please keep me, please don't prove me wrong. But yeah, so anyways, washing hands, all of that. I hope you stay healthy. No flu for you. I love you. Take care of yourself. We'll talk soon. Good night.